When we just rest as awareness, less and less do we feel ourselves to be so defined by all the stirrings within us, the stirrings that say, I'm me, I'm somebody. I need certain thoughts to make me feel good. I need certain emotions to make me feel good. I need certain experiences to make me feel good. You know, what I've just described, that's not well-being, that's addiction. Self-centered identity is only one identity a human being can have. And just like people can change their identities whenever they want to on the internet, we all can change our identities too, from this self-centered identity to our wisdom identity. When we acknowledge what is at the basis of every thought, emotion, and experience, which is awareness. When we acknowledge that awareness and we get familiar with that awareness, we get familiar with that self-awareness by which we know we are, then we don't need to use so many conventional beliefs to describe ourselves or what's going on with us. All thoughts, emotions, and experiences, no matter what we've labeled them to be, are timelessly free. They're not time-bound. They're not located anywhere other than within awareness, aware pure space. So they're the dynamic energy of that pure space and nothing else. Nothing needs to be done about them because they're their own undoing. They're not a fixed thing. They have no independent nature. They have a label, but that label refers back to something that cannot be found. So we can take an emotion, for example, like anger, that's a label, but when we look into its essence, when we examine its essence, we can't really say that it has an essence of its own. We can't really say that anger is a thing that exists in its own right. Because if anger were a thing that exists in its own right, then we could show it somewhere. We could identify it and say that it exists as this thing, that it always exists as this thing, but there is a law of permanence that applies to that anger. And we can't really find that to be true about anything, because all labels, no matter what they are comprised of space. So if we continue to take all of our emotions and thoughts to have significance and importance in their own right, as though they are something according to all these things that are described through conventional beliefs, then they will. We'll think for our entire lives that our thoughts mean something, that our emotions mean something, that our past means something in terms of what's happening right now, and that we have to be afraid of the fearful consequences of the future, whatever those might be. When we live at the whim of our thoughts, emotions, and experiences, as they're described through conventional beliefs, then all of our lives we're never sure where we are. And the love that we're always looking for, we can't really find. We try to find it in a thought, but we can't find it there. Why can't we find it in a thought? Because it doesn't exist in the label. So if we say, oh, you know, I'm only going to have happy, loving thoughts, and that's how I'm going to find love, no one's ever been able to do that. Because love doesn't exist in happy, loving thoughts. Love exists in everything. It exists in happy, loving thoughts, but it also exists in negative thoughts and negative experiences and negative emotions, because all of these, no matter what they are comprised of aware, pure space. The label has never meant anything. The label is trapped in time and location, and it's trapped in cause and effect. But who we really are, that essence of us that is all love, all wisdom, all knowing, all aware at all times, has never been trapped by any designation whatsoever, whether it's time and space, cause and effect. skin color, dark skin or light skin, hair color, dark hair, light hair, medium colored hair, eye color, gender, geographical location, or anything else. Who we are, the essence of who we are, has never been stuck anywhere. It's never been made into anything. And this is what we really need to know at this point in human history about ourselves, more so than at any other time. We've always had people among us in humankind who have known this true nature of reality. But today is the first time in human history where many people are open-minded enough and also have the information available to really realize this truth and significance about who we are. And in this truth and significance about who we are as that which is completely beyond time and space and cause and effect lies the ability to solve our own problems as individuals and also the problems of our world. So, how do we go about doing that in a practical way? Well, how we go about doing that in a practical way is just to get familiar with the essence that is at the basis of each of us as human beings. At the basis of each of us, we know everything through awareness. So we wouldn't even know that we are human beings without awareness. So we have to go to this root of awareness, that by which we know we are and that by which we know everything is. And when we return to that sense of awareness and just let it be, just rest in and as that awareness. When we return to that again and again, then we rest as that essence. We let be that essence of awareness that is beyond time and space, beyond cause and effect. And we don't need these chains of conventional beliefs so much to know who we are. We no longer need them because in resting as awareness, we immediately feel the self-benefit. So perhaps we've had a thought that's plagued us all our life, or perhaps we've had an emotion that's plagued us all our life, or perhaps we've always had an impulse to act according to a certain fashion that's plagued us all our life. When we begin to rest as awareness, we no longer have those impulses. They gradually lessen over time, and we open up into the spaciousness of our true being. So, it's as simple as this. Who we are, we already are. So we're not headed to a destination where we have to get that. We already are who we are. We're already beyond all conventional designations. And all that is required for us to become familiar with that is just simple open-mindedness. It doesn't depend on being schooled or not, or being smart or not, or anything else. Any human being anywhere on earth is aware, and all human beings can gain familiarity with that awareness. In that awareness is wisdom. In that awareness is super complete wisdom. Everything that appears within the vast expanse of pure space and is comprised of that space is like a mirage or a hologram or a magical illusion. It has no entity status. It has no self-originating mechanism. It has no essence that makes it a thing in and of itself. It's just like a mirage or a hologram. And just like we'd never try to get anything from a mirage or a hologram, we'd never see anything in a mirage or a hologram that we could count on. So too, there's nothing in labels that we can count on, no matter what it is. And our thoughts, our emotions, our experiences, when they're known in this way, have less and less of a hold on who we take ourselves to be. We open up and we no longer take ourselves to be these limited biological entities that we've described ourselves to be through information that we've gotten from someone else. So, we describe ourselves to be who we are because we've been given information by other human beings who believe that they're that too. But does that really mean that that's what we are? Throughout all of human time, there have been beings who have known themselves as they really are. And these people have been the wisdom bearers of humankind who have carried this wisdom from generation to generation. And not only have they been wisdom bearers, but they've been demonstrations of the tremendous benefit of knowing ourselves as we really are. When we get familiar with awareness, that's equal to wisdom. So the more familiarity we have with the awareness that is at the root of all perceptions, the more familiarity we have with true wisdom, wisdom that doesn't rely on thinking, wisdom that doesn't rely on conventional designations about the way things have always been described by everyone and everything. No one has ever been bound by that. But, I could sit here and talk about that all day. Unless each person gets familiar with it in their own experience, there'll be no knowledge whatsoever of what I'm talking about. We can't think ourselves into this. We can understand it somewhat through thinking about it, but we need to decisively experience what is at the basis of everything in order to really, really understand, to really allow that wisdom to come totally alive. And like I said, this is within the purview of everyone. That means anyone can do it. Purview, it means anyone can do it. It's already within the view of everyone. It's like a dimmer switch, one of those switches that you turn up and it gets brighter and brighter. The only reason that we may not know this about ourselves is only because the dimmer switch is turned down. And when the dimmer switch is turned down and we only take ourselves to be whatever the descriptions are in the dictionary, the descriptions that have been handed to us by others, then we don't see the clear view. We don't see the all-encompassing pure view of awareness. We don't see that as ourselves. We see something else, whatever's been taught to us. When we get familiar with who we are, we just feel better all the time. There's no other way to say it. It's not a mysterious, esoteric matter. It doesn't belong to any kind of category or institution. It doesn't belong to philosophy. It doesn't belong to religion. It doesn't belong to spirituality. It's never been owned by any country or by any person. This is just the way we are as human beings. It's our human nature. And we can either get familiar with it or not. But when we do get familiar with it, then we pass beyond cause and effect. We just pass completely beyond cause and effect. All these things that are always proliferating and stirring within us, and then resolving our thoughts and emotions about experiences, we realize more and more that all these appearances are really allies. They're really friends. We've never been at the whim of them. It's all what we take them to be. If we take them to be a monster, they will be. If we think we're ruled by our thoughts and emotions, then we will be. If we think we're affected and ruled by our experiences, then we will be. And when we get to know ourselves as we are, the more we know ourselves as we truly are, the more we see that we're really not affected by all the labels that we've attributed to everything, no matter what they are. If the first time we're angry when we're a little kid, somebody says to us, "Oh, don't be angry, that's bad," then right away we take that anger, this big surge of energy, it's been labeled anger, and we feel it's bad. So from then on, whenever this big surge of energy comes up, we think anger bad. So we've got to put that in the pile of points of view that we want to get rid of. And we're usually taught to replace it with something else. Someone says to us, be nice. Don't be angry, be nice. So we learn to then think, be nice. That's a good thing. So now we're gonna make a big pile like Mount Everest of being nice. But no matter how nice we are, and what is implied that if we're nice, then we'll have well-being. We'll feel good and we'll get along with others. But even the nicest people on earth will not find well-being in being nice. There will always be something stirring in the background there that isn't nice, like death or critical illness or something unpredictable that happens. There will be unniceness that comes up somewhere. And because, we can never find well-being in a label, not unless we know the true meaning of that appearance. And the ultimate meaning of everything cannot be found to exist according to the description of the label. So, I just invite everyone to give it up. And I see people all over the world, and I know by now that there are some people who are ready and there are other people who aren't. Many people enjoy the conventional ways of looking at things, and that's okay. But anyone who is ready, that's really great, because those of us who are ready among humankind to adopt a new mind that is beyond cause and effect, beyond time and space, that isn't trapped in all these conventional designations, we can be of great benefit to ourselves and to others, of tremendous benefit. We have urgent problems facing the world, for us as individuals and for our species and the planet as a whole. And we desperately need wisdom to solve these problems. We need wisdom to solve the problems that are within ourselves that make us feel like a ping pong ball all of our lives, bouncing back and forth between thoughts, emotions, and experiences. So we need to find how to benefit ourselves and come to terms with everything that goes on with us internally. And as we do so, we recognize the amazing benefit in that. We recognize through our own firsthand experience, just like a scientist has a hypothesis, they test it, and they see the result. So I'm just inviting you to find out the same thing about yourself. Here's a hypothesis for you, test it, and you'll see the result. That's all there is to it. And the result is wisdom. It's not getting into some kind of state of holding on to awareness and saying, I'm in awareness, everything is okay. Awareness is inseparable from wisdom. Wisdom and awareness aren't something that needs to be held on to. Awareness and wisdom are self-kept. They're self-held. They're not holdable and keepable, and there's no one to hold them or keep them. So when we just rest as awareness, less and less do we feel ourselves to be so defined by all the stirrings within us, the stirrings that say, I'm me, I'm somebody. I need certain thoughts to make me feel good. I need certain emotions to make me feel good. I need certain experiences to make me feel good. What I've just described, that's not well-being, that's addiction. So this self-centered identification with being somebody who always needs more and more to make it feel good, the right kinds of thoughts, the right kinds of emotions, the right kinds of experiences, that's just an addiction because it doesn't really resolve anything. it doesn't really tell us the truth about who we are. And it gives us an extremely limited identity of ourselves that's based on an individual self, a personal identity. I'm somebody and I crave and need all these things to make me feel good, no matter what they are. But there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine if that's the way you want to live. But if you don't want to live that way, then there's another way to live. Just know that there is another way to live. That self-centered identity is only one identity a human being can have. And just like people can change their identities whenever they want to on the internet, we all can change our identities too, from this self-centered identity to our wisdom identity. We can get familiar with this wisdom identity that isn't bound by a location called a body and by time and space. The wisdom identity isn't dependent on anything. It's not dependent on the body and all of the terms applied to the body, like birth, life, and death, waking, dreaming, sleeping. These are just labels. We learn that we're bound by all these things, but when we get familiar with awareness, we find gradually that we're not really dependent on these things. Where is the one who was born? Where is the one who's living? What is the location of that? And where is the one who will die? All that rests in awareness. It's only awareness that is aware of being born, living, and dying. And of all the appearances, no matter what they are, human beings are the only ones who have this self-awareness.